أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. My first question is that the often quoted hadith referring to Isa and Mahdi will be the same person is used as La Mahdi la Isa, there is no Mahdi but Isa. A question I'd like to ask is, sometimes the Holy Prophet, when they said there is no young but Ali, or there is no sword but Zulfiqar. That's the first question like that.
Now you see, that hadith is dealing with completely different subject. But if you apply the same style of expression to have the same meaning, even then it doesn't make any difference. Because when you say La sword, there is no sword but the sword of Ali, it doesn't mean that there is no other sword. It means this is the sword which covers all the qualities of the sword, the very best ones. So if you want to extend this expression to the hadith La Mahdi illa Isa, still it wouldn't hurt the Ahmadiyya claim that Isa and Mahdi could be one and the same person. Because in this sense it would say that La Mahdi illa Isa, Isa possesses all the qualities of Mahdi to perfection. So why should you see elsewhere for another Mahdi? So, but this is not all which is important. Another aspect I would like respectfully to draw your attention to would be this, that this hadith in itself is criticized by many to be a weak hadith, dhaif, and it should not be overemphasized. I say weak or strong, leave it alone. Let's go to the crux of the matter and go into the rationality of the issue. And that is the only right way to approach this problem. I say logically, it is only possible for Jesus Christ to be different from a Messiah, the Mahdi, if he, who is referred to be the prophet of the future as Messiah Ibn Maryam, is the same person who appeared in the Ummah of Moses. This is the issue which is more important to be decided. If the person who is promised by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam under the name and title of Yasu ibn Isa ibn Maryam, the same Isa who the son of Mary and who lived around 2000 years ago, and who is said by some to have died upon cross but then revived from the death, and is said by some to have been killed and was never revived, and is said by some that he was never crucified in the first place, and he was taken straight to the heaven bodily and is awaiting his return in the fourth heaven somewhere, waiting for the command of God to send him back. Now this last understanding of what happened to Jesus Christ is the understanding of the Muslims who do not agree with Ahmadiyyat. You see, non-Ahmadi Muslims. They say it's impossible for Jesus to be the Mahdi. So they are far more inclined to reject this hadith. They say it has to be wrong, it has to have been attributed to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam, while there couldn't be any basis for this. So despite the fact that they agree that Ibn Majah is one of the 6 authentic books, but sometimes Bukhari also has some weak traditions, proved to be weak by later researchers, and so Ibn Majah could have many hadiths which are not acceptable. So on this plea, they strengthen their view, they support their view that it is the same old Jesus who is to return. So if we decide the issue of his life or death first, then to resolve the matter would become will become easier and more rational. So I invite you to approach this problem from that point of view. There are two possible ways of determining which Jesus Muhammad Rasulullah was referring to. If he is the same Jesus of Nazareth, who was born in Nazareth and disappeared after the act of crucifixion, then where did he go to? According to these Muslim scholars, he was lifted to heaven, fourth heaven particularly, and until he returns, nothing can be done for the cause of the Muslim of the latter days. Agreed? Now, if turning to the Holy Quran, it can be proved beyond a shadow of doubt that according to the Holy Quran, that Jesus is dead and he did not bodily ascend to heaven, then that Jesus to whom Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah is referring has to be another one. Obviously. Now, I'm just using the word ifs. I don't say that you should accept what I claim. What I'm saying is, you must rationally accept the principles by which I'm trying to resolve these issues. The outcome may be different from your investigation as against mine, but the principles are the same. If it is proved beyond a shadow of doubt that according to the Holy Quran, old Jesus of Nazareth, who appeared in the Ummah of Moses, died a natural death and did not die upon cross. This is the claim. Then we must turn back to the traditions which prophesy the coming of that, apparently that person. What will the meaning then? Are they all false? And because there's so many, so numerous and of the same style, without contradiction between them, that the case of the Ahadith dealing with Messiah are not the case of Ahadith which deal with Mahdi. About the Mahdi, there are so many contradictory traditions that it is extremely difficult to wriggle out of that rigmarole once you enter it. But about the Messiah, the statement is very straightforward. Masih ibn Maryam will descend not from heaven, nowhere the word heaven is used, only Nuzul. He would descend and what would he do? He would sit on the chair of judgment and decide between the differences of the Muslims of that period. They would be divided and split into so many factions. He would say, in that he is right, in that he is right, and so on and so forth. Because he would be guided by Allah, so his judgment will be the right one. Then he will turn his attention to Christianity and break the cross, which is the backbone of distorted Christian faith, not the real one. Yeah. So, Jesus would be needed to break the false cross. And therein lies the wisdom of referring to him as Jesus. Then he would turn to the swines and start a long journey of visiting all the countries of the world where swines are either cultivated, kept in farms or appear in the woods, etc. And he will start slaughtering them. And then, at an age of 2000 years plus, if he descends within 2000 years, he will return to peace and marry. And then he will have children. So first of all, once during the ladies' question answer, I inquired from the ladies present, would anyone of you who are not yet married would marry a man of 2000 years old who after descent has spent a large part, covering many, many more years, traveling the whole world and killing the swines and doing this and that and breaking all the crosses, you know. And then he would turn to the Dajjal and kill him. Now, the point is it a metaphorical reference or literal reference? If the cross is a metaphorical reference to the faith and the central doctrine of their faith, if the word swine is used to indicate people of, lax attitude in sex, etc., so that a society, permissive society is born which knows no bound. If you, by Dajjal, it is understood that it is not one single person, but a predominant people or group of peoples who would be ruling the world at that time, then all these are metaphors. Why must you insist that Jesus is not a metaphor? In the world of metaphors, why should he be odd man out? He could also be referred as a metaphor. Something like Jesus Christ, something in the spirit of Jesus Christ, something resembling him in his attitude and doctrines, as to remind one of the movement of Jesus Christ and what followed. Now, this is exactly our interpretation of these traditions, and I draw your attention further to the fact that this fits in perfectly with all the traditions of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam regarding Jesus Christ. Now, the question is, why didn't he say like Jesus Christ? Anyone like? The issue would have been resolved easily. Yeah. But there are references in the Holy Quran regarding Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam where he is likened to God in certain areas, but the word like is not used. Wama ramaita is ramaita, walakin Allah rama. It doesn't say you threw the pebble full of your the handful of pebbles like God could have done. He said, Wama ma ramaita is ramaita. You did not throw that handful of pebbles. It was God who did it. Then, to further complicate the issues for those who believe, of course, in unity, perfect unity of God, the Holy Quran says, Allazina yubayi'unaka tahta shajarate, referring to those people who took bath in Sulh Hudaybiyah. Innama yubayi'un Allah. This verse, this expression is used. They are taking their bath at the hand of God Almighty. Then again it says, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim. If anybody is still in any doubt, the hand of Muhammad which was over their hands is the hand of Allah. And none of the Muslims, even the most extremists, ever interpret it to be God himself. So sometimes the similarities become so powerful that the fasahatu balagat or the rhetorics would demand that like and this similar, that these words are removed to bring to the focus of attention the importance of similarity. Again, this is a common use in every language. It is in common use in every language. Like in the Arabs say, if somebody is very generous, he is Hatam Tai. And the dramatists are sometimes referred to as Shakespeare. Like Agha Kashmiri used to be referred to as Shakespeare in India. And similarly, this is a common practice of human expression, common tradition of human expression, that if you want to emphasize the similarity, the words of similarity are totally withdrawn. So we believe this is a fair case of that. The similarities between the reformer to come in the latter days and the reformer of the latter days of Moses were to be so strong that the Holy Quran removed the word, the Hazrat Muhammad ﷺ removed the word of ka from in between to emphasize the similarity. But at other places, he also removed the confusion and possible misunderstanding. And that can be shown very clearly. Hazur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, speaking of the latter days when Jesus was to descend, he said, why Jesus? You know, that is the question. Speaking of the Muslims of that era, he says they would be similar to Jews as a shoe of a pair is similar to the other partner, to the other pair, to other of the same pair. Now, this is a very important prediction or prophecy of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it solves the mystery of why Jesus and why refer to him as Ibn Maryam. Because the Jews of his period had become so hard-hearted, as the Holy Quran refers to them as their hearts having been turned to stones. And Jesus did not change the religion, but he revolutionized the attitudes. Instead of stressing revenge, he almost left no room for any revenge. He said, if somebody slaps on the right cheek, offer the other one, and so on and so forth. So something like that was to be done to cure the same illness, which is referred to as Judaic misbehavior in religion. When this disease struck the world of Islam again, and the remedy for that was Messiah. So again the remedy should be the same. But not the same Messiah of the old Moses, because he came only for a smaller area of ills and treatment. And that area of ills and treatment has been defined by the Holy Quran as, speaking of Jesus, it says, Rasulan ila Bani Israel. He was a prophet only to Israelites, not to all the world. Now imagine if he returns the same in person. Will we not have a right to reject him by saying, bring your authority from the Quran? The Holy Quran says you are fit only to deal with the problems of Israelites. And you have come here claiming that you can resolve the Muslim problems which is an ummah, which is universal. Ummah of the Prophet Islam, of Muhammad Rasulullah of Islam, which covers everything. How could you do that? So these are the indicators. I'm not taking up the debate in depth and in detail, only I'm pointing out to you these areas of further research. And if you try to resolve the problem from all these, with the help of these references, I hope, inshallah, you will be guided to the right conclusion.
What have the classical scholars said about your interpretation?
Beg your pardon?
About the interpretation your Jamaat gives?
You see, the scholars, that is the orthodox scholars, whom do they represent? If Messiah has come, let's suppose for a while, if a true, genuine Messiah has come, whom would the scholars represent to reject him? People like Jews, the ones to which Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah has referred, that they would be as similar to the Jews of that earlier period as one of the shoes of a pair is similar to the other. So it's not a question of whether Hazrat Mirza Sahib is right or wrong. It's a question to be decided in principle first. Then I can visualize you to be in agreement with me without any prejudices. Let's forget for a while the claim of Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib to be that Messiah. Let us, for the sake of argument, accept that a Messiah is yet to come. Okay? When he comes, what would be the position of those ulama who reject him? Whom would they represent? God, Muhammad Rasulullah and Islam, or the distorted understanding of Islam of that period? What is your answer to that? Take your time and consider.
Yeah.
Digest this answer first, fully, mentally. You see, I am raising a hypothetical question and trying to answer the same. If Hazrat Mirza Sahib is not the Messiah who was prophesied by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, then because he was right, a Messiah is yet to come. Agreed? If a Messiah is yet to come, and the people to whom he appears are, according to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, so similar to the Jews of the time of Messiah that you can't draw a line of difference between them. If that is right, and is that right or not? This is right. That Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah did predict that. Okay? What should be the reaction of the ulama, of the neo-Jews? Because Jesus Christ can only descend, according to the prophecies, among a Jewish-like people who cannot be differentiated with one with the other. What should be their reaction? Will the new Jews, as Muhammad Rasulullah said, I don't say that, don't take offense. As Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has described them to be, Jews so similar to the earlier Jews that no difference can be marked and observed. Then what should be their reaction to the Christ of that time?
Yeah. Isn't there a hadith that says none of the people of the book will fail to believe in him before his death? None of the people of the book will fail to believe in him before his death.
That is a different verse, a complicated affair. I'll come to that later.
Okay.
If you raise that question, of course I will answer that. But what I'm now trying to do is to draw your attention to a very important matter of principle. When we say the Messiah has come, and we present arguments in favor of his being the true Messiah, apart from other objections, one objection which is raised is the one which you just have raised. That if a Messiah has come, what about the ulama who oppose Ahmadiyyat and who have rejected him outright? Are they all mad? Didn't they understand these things? Why did they not accept him? And if they did not accept him and we did not, so it's okay by us. They are our religious leaders, we inquire from them, and they should have told us if the Messiah is right or wrong. Now this premise is wrong. Whether Messiah is right or wrong, that's irrelevant. The very premise is definitely wrong. On the Quranic statements, consistent Quranic statements with reference to religious history, and on the particular statement of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as to what would happen when Jesus descends, to whom he would come, among whom he would appear. That's the point. Yeah. He says he would appear among a people who apparently would be Muslims, but will have all similarities to the Jews of the time of Jesus Christ. Okay? What was their reaction to the true Jesus? See?
Yeah,
If they don't show the same reaction, then they are not similar. So the point of similarity is central to this argument.
yeah,
You understand?
yeah,
But again, I bring a very interesting thing to your notice, that one of the things which they demanded from that Jesus was that we are expecting an old prophet to descend bodily from heaven, who according to the Old Testament had ascended bodily to the heavens. And this time sitting on his chariot. He was drawn up into the heavens and is awaiting there, that is Elia, for his return before the time of Christ. This is exactly what is written in the Old Testament. So one of the objections of the people of that period to the Messiah of that period was that please show us that Elijah who has bodily descended from the heavens. The moment you do it, you would have established at least the basis of your truth. You could be possibly the same, but where is the Elijah? Do you reject the Old Testament and this divine prophecy? You see, when this matter was referred to Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, you know the answer, what it was? He referred to John the Baptist, Hadhrat Yahya, and said, he is the same Elijah. I don't reject the prophecy, I accept it. But he is the Elijah who was to descend from heaven bodily, and he has appeared before you. The same objection was raised by the ulama and still is raised by the ulama of the present time against Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. Do you or do you not read the word nuzul, which means descent? So tell us, if you have descended from the heaven bodily, or you have been born out of a human mother. And then they further, out of mockery, enlarge this objection by referring to the name of his mother. He said, what would be the name of your mother? Is it Chirag Bibi or Maryam? The answer would be Maryam, not Maryam, Chirag Bibi, of course. He said, you expect us to believe in you as son of Mary, while the name of your mother is not Maryam, but it is Chirag Bibi. So we have every right to reject you on the basis of scriptures. Now, if the same objection was raised by the Jews of the time of Jesus Christ regarding the person of Yahya, will you accept their argument against that of Jesus or the argument of Jesus?
You have to look at the ijma of the ulama. Do you agree?
No, what I'm saying is, it's simply, again, an hypothetical question. If it is determined on the authority of all the biblical and historical statements that this issue was raised by the Jews of the period of Jesus Christ, right? If it is established beyond a shadow of doubt that Jesus accepted that prophecy as true and yet tried to convince them that descent from heaven does not mean a bodily descent. A man who is referred to descend from heaven may be born out of ordinary human mothers. And it was no longer a question of maybe. He particularly took this stance with reference to John the Baptist and said he is the Elijah, that Elijah, whom you expect to descend from heaven bodily. Now, what logic was in his favor? Were Jews not armed with much stronger logic who took the prophecy to be literal? Apparently, yes. Exactly the same is the case today with reference to the Ahmadiyya difference and the non-Ahmadiyyas. We believe they are metaphors. Don't take them literally. Or like Jews, you will be left awaiting for the first, not Messiah, but the one who is to come before him. And that is exactly what they do. There is a Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. And many a time their pictures appear annually. When the time comes, the Jewish elders go and strike their heads against the stones of that wall, praying to God, send that Elia, so that the Messiah could come. They think Elia has not come because he didn't descend from heaven. So, to accept that fate once again, after the lesson is given in history, would be unpardonable. Shall we give another chance to somebody else as well, please? Yes. You can come again and we'll meet again. Thank you so much. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Adenuga. I was born in Nigeria.
Right.
I have been living in this country for some years now. I would say I'm a resident.
For how many years?
Of over 12 years. I'm a seeker of
20 years.
12.
12, right.
Yes, please. Yes. I'm a seeker of truth.
Right.
I have two questions. Part of the first one has been part of the first question has been answered. That's regarding the Lord Jesus. My first question is this. There are about 5 or 6 major religions in the world at present. I named them: Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and we have these Sikhisms, Judaism,
Taoism,
Jainism,
Confucianism.
Right. Which of some of these religions claim to have the pathway to God?
That's right.
For example, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the light. Yes. No one cometh to the Father except through me." Meaning, in Christian terms, that you can only go to God or realize God through Jesus. Now, may I ask, which of these religions is the right pathway to God?
Thank you. Thank you very much. But let me remove this misunderstanding first about the gate, Jesus being the gateway to God. All prophets of Allah, when they come, and wherever they come, they all are gateways to God at that time, in that society. Were there the shut gates? When Buddha invited the people to come to emancipation from your own devilish command over yourselves, what he was inviting to, a shut door? When Moses came before Jesus, and Abraham before him, and Noah and Adam, what did they claim? We are a door shut. You can't go through us to God. If that is the position, it's such an absurd thing to have happened in history, that religion no longer remains worthy of acceptance as such. It's a misunderstanding on the part of the Christians who interpret this claim of Jesus Christ to be a claim to monopoly. You see, he never made any claim to monopoly. All prophets of Allah are ways to Allah. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ even enlarged this concept further by saying that ashabi kan nujume ayyahum iqtadaytum ihtadaytum. My companions are like stars. Whichever you follow, you will be led to truth. So this is a universal phenomenon. And if it is not accepted as a universal phenomenon, that God has to be rejected universally. Right?
Yeah.
The second question, please.
The second question is, God is omnipresent.
Right, correct.
He is present everywhere. And in the Bible, there is a passage that says God is in the innermost part of your heart. So if I have to define man in reality, what is man? If God is present and we do not want to deny the existence of God in man, what is man?
You see, this expression, again, is not specific to Christianity. This expression, again, is found in almost all religions which I have read.
Right.
The Holy Quran says at one place, Nanu akrabu ilaykum min hablil warid. The verse is this, or is it, there is some ilahi. Nanu akrabu ilayhi min hablil warid. Speaking of man, Allah says, we are nearer to him than his life artery, jugular vein, or life artery. It can be translated either way. So God is in man. Then, and again, the Holy Quran says, Yuhulu bain al-mar'i wa qalbihi. God is so close to man that between his decisive power and his heart, God intercedes, remains there. Then, describing God from a different point of view, the Holy Quran says, Ainama tawallu fathamma wajhullahi. Whichever way you direct your attention, you will find God there. Then the Holy Quran says, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. God is the light of heavens and the earth. So He is everywhere. There is no concept of any existence where God is not, and no concept of any void where God is not. So this is the complete claim of the Holy Quran, and it is not in contradiction to any other religious claim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
My name is Hugh Lakshman Dimel.
Your name is?
Dimel.
Right.
And I'm of Sri Lankan origin. And if I may use the word cosmopolitan in terms of religion,
Right.
my father was a Buddhist,
Right.
and my mother was a Christian.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, I am...
And your grandfathers were of Hindu origin?
no, I think my
Grandparents,
my
I mean,
side, yeah, my father's side were Buddhists.
Right, right.
And I think my mother's side originally were, yes, they had some
Yes.
Hindu beliefs, yes.
That's right, yes.
In my case, I find I'm a babe in terms of religious matters, in the sense that I'm searching for what I think is. Now, I cannot accept the Christian faith. I believe that Jesus Christ was one of the great prophets, as I believe in Moses and Isaac and Abraham and so on. But I cannot come to terms where I cannot call myself a Christian, because I think the linchpin of, or the cornerstone of Christianity is that you believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. No, I do not believe that.
Exactly.
I
Right.
cannot accept that. I also have difficulty in coming to terms of the Immaculate Conception. That is something I don't know. I believe in God. I believe there's one God. I believe that Muhammad is his prophet. I believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet. I believe in the angels. I believe everything in terms. And I believe that the Quran was inspired of God, and I think the Bible as well is inspired of God, because no human being can do this. Right. You very rightly pointed out the problems arise because we, human beings, our interpretation of it is what is the problem, not the writing.
Exactly, that's right.
And you mention the word, the fact that in the Bible and so on, there are metaphors, there are facts, that there are symbolic things, and the people take it literally. I think I'm right in saying that nowhere in the Bible is there any evidence that Jesus said, I'm the Son of God. I don't think he ever did that.
Well,
He said, I'm the Son of Man.
That's right. But the Christians infer from many of his statements that he claimed to be the Son of God because he referred to God as Father.
Ah, yes, but that is,
You see?
I mean, I refer to God
No,
as Father.
of course, I agree with your statement.
Yes.
But you can't say that they are drawing conclusions which have no semblance of a basis
Yes.
in the Bible. There are some.
Yes.
But nowhere in the New Testament you find it mentioned by Jesus Christ that worship me.
He never did that.
See,
Yes.
that's a very
Worship the
important
Father,
thing.
Yes.
Another thing, we find definite evidence from the New Testament whereby Jesus is categorically declaring that he is a person with a different will, and the so-called Father is a person with a different will, and their wills at that time in the history of man were not at one with each other. And then he says, thine should be done, not mine. So that does away with the entire basis of Christianity. Because before he was crucified, it is mentioned in Matthew and also in Luke, these two references, and maybe in other books as well, that Jesus said that please take away this bitter cup.
Yeah, in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yes. And don't make me go through this trial. And then he says, but my will as against yours. This is the problem. So you do it according to your will and not according to my will. So how could such a person who is supplicating in these terms be at one with the possessor of the supreme will? There has to be a split between the two wills. And the moment there is the split, then the concept of his sonship goes overboard as well. And another reference, I don't remember the words, but if you concentrate on these, you'll be amazed at how Christians can compromise this definite, clear statements with their belief in the literal sonship of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him.
True. The other thing with Christianity, I find that there's a third element that was brought in, apart from God the Father, God the Son, as they call it, and that's the concept of the Holy Spirit. Now, to me, I mean, there isn't a separate entity as the Holy Spirit. I mean, the Spirit of God is there, it's omnipresent, it's in us, and it's up to us to ask God, to accept us. I don't think there's a separate thing, but Jesus said at one stage, he said, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, that which is born of the spirit. That is to give an understanding that about religious matters that is different here. Coming back to the other side of my father's thing, I cannot accept Buddhism because it's not a religion, it's a philosophy, and I think that we are all frail human beings, and I don't think that any of us can attain so-called nirvana purely of our own doing. Right. We need God's guidance and help, and our fellow...
But isn't there a minority sect in Buddhism which still exists and believes in the existence of God, or rather gods like Hindus? Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
There are two main divisions of Buddhists today, small factions everywhere, of course. But one of them, which is larger in number, rejects the concept of God.
Yes.
And considers man to be capable of reaching the truth when he delves deep into himself, by dissociating himself and liberating himself from the worldly pleasures or the desires. So the moment they say you sever your ties with your own nature, that is, to desire is the nature of man, then you will find the truth within. It's a very complicated affair. Let's not go into that.
A couple of things, if I may ask. I don't take up too much of your time. But
at the same time, their attitude towards Buddha is exactly like the attitude of people to their gods. And they venerate him, they respect him, they worship him, they bow to him. And I've seen it myself, and when I ask, they say they're contemplating. But contemplating before what?
But Buddha never said he was God.
Yes, he never said.
Never.
He never said. But he did say, it's not a philosophy. This is what I beg to differ.
Right.
He did say that he was a messenger of God.
There is someone greater than him will come. Yes, he did say that.
He did say. And there is a book about to be published under the title of Rationality and Truth, etc., which covers this aspect and which gives references to the original Tripitaka books of Buddhism, in which these references are found.
Yes.
In fact, they were misled to believe that that Buddha was an atheist because of his war against false gods. He always vehemently attacked the false gods of Brahmins. And there's enough evidence in his denial that he's speaking of those only. But he never denied the concept of one supreme being. In fact, he claimed that he has come from him. And the Brahmins don't know the other side because they have not come from him. So Buddha is a very important prophet of Allah, messenger of Allah, who waged his war against idolatry. And he was from God, we believe. Thank you.
Otherwise he couldn't. Now, this brings me to a fundamental thing, really. Now, as far as I can see, I know very little, and that is a good thing that I know that I know very little. I don't see any conflict between my inner beliefs and Islam and the faith of Islam.
Right.
Now, I didn't realize until comparatively recently that there were so many sects of, within Islam. And when it comes down to the movement, how I was drawn to this was really one of my dearest friends who's sitting over there somewhere, Mr. Khan. He's
raise your hand, the friend. Yes, good.
So, what I was drawn to it is because there's a misnomer about the Muslim religion, that they're all fanatics, and people like to put this concept forward because of the fervor and the fact that it's more power syndrome and so on, and the religious teachings are, what they are condoning is not really from the Quran or from God. That is man's making, whether they be so-called learned teachers. In Christ's time, he had to go at the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Now my point is, Jesus Christ was not the Messiah. Now, Jews still believe the Messiah is still to come. The large numbers of the greatest Muslims believe that the Messiah is still to come. Now, am I right in saying that the fundamental difference between the Ahmadiyya movement, the beliefs, and the other Muslims is that principally that the Messiah has come. But the Messiah is when you say, in the old terms, is to say the deliverer. He is the one who is showing the way and saying that we have gone sort of off the rails a bit, gone astray, right, and get back to fundamentals, right, without going through this,
changing any book or anything.
Yeah, go back to basics.
Right. You see, this one difference can be described as the only difference in a way, in a manner of speaking, but it is an all-comprising difference. It, first of all, rectifies the attitude towards the prophecies. If you agree that the prophecies are most often parables and metaphors with deeper meanings in it, and overmuch emphasis on literality or literal values of these will be misleading, then you do not only agree on this point, but you also have to agree in so many other interpretations. So it opens the way to all the differences, in fact.
This is what I would like to learn, is to find out, I mean, you can't put this under a microscope. I mean, it's not a scientific thing. One has to have faith and belief in this. What I would like to learn is learn more so that I would understand why it is that you believe that the Messiah is the Messiah.
The Messiah needs to come. That's what you mean?
No. I'm saying you believe, am I not right saying you believe the Messiah has come?
What I'm going to suggest to you is that so far you have undertaken a long, hazardous journey of deciding which of the hundreds of religions, in fact, appeals to you and which you cannot accept as rational. And that journey, without ever having gone into a detailed comparison of their teachings and claims, has led you satisfactorily to the one conclusion, at least, that as found in the present form, none is worthy of acceptance in its totality.
Yeah,
in its totality.
In totality, yes.
That's right. Not otherwise.
Yes.
You agree that all have to be right in the beginning, but they have gone through such metamorphosis that they are no longer recognizable. And the differences we find are man-made, and so we must search for some religion which has not been interpolated by man to that degree. That brought you on the threshold of Islam. But there you found so many differences within. How can you resolve it? By the same guideline, the same principle which you applied in relation to all others. Go to the teachings of different sects and concepts and beliefs and apply them to the touchstone of your inner truth. And because you have never been misled so far in your journey, I assure you that you will not be misled again, ever after. That is the only way to find out the truth. And to sum up the beliefs is not difficult. To cover the arguments is a very difficult task and very involving task. So instead of starting your journey into the realm of arguments, you better inquire from knowledgeable people of all these sects in Islam as to what would you like me to believe as Islam.
Yes, because one of the problems I have is that people say is not necessarily what the teachings of that particular sect are. These are, you can't look at so-and-so or this body or that political and say, therefore, that whole sect is tarred with that and that's their belief. That's not. Actually, what the teaching is contrary to the actions of these people.
No, I'm not talking of that. I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I never said that you come to me and inquire from me what the beliefs of Wahhabis or Barelvis or Shiites are. No, not that. I said, inquire from the leaders of those religions themselves.
Right.
And tell them to give you in nutshell their concept of God and religion and the world here and the hereafter and the purposes of man. These are the larger issues in which man is fundamentally interested. The minor differences don't matter much. And find out about the time when Islam was to deteriorate and disintegrate, almost disintegrate. What should have happened? Who would save Islam from this ruin? Inquire about these. And then put the same questions to us.
Yes, as far as you're concerned, what I would like to know, for the little I know, anybody who says that he's done more than scratch the surface is a fool. Because it is not something that you can just,
no, that is not what I'm suggesting either.
Yeah, so therefore what I'm saying is, what I'd like to know from you is, in terms of the Messiah, there has been, you're not going to believe that unless there's plenty of...
Have you not noticed, sir, that I'm avoiding this answer to this question?
Yes.
Not because I do not know, but because the time is so short now.
Yes, I understand.
That this requires a very long explanation. covers a lot of areas.
I will make sure that
you are a very intelligent person. That is why I suggested to you that don't call it a single difference.
No, yeah, I'm sure there are more than...
Out of this difference are born so many. So I'll have to chase all of them, you know, until you're satisfied, and I hope you will. But study more about it.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullah.
There's two parts to my question.
Please.
The first part is, what are your views on Ahmadis who think that Ahmadis should only marry Ahmadis?
Ahmadis should only marry Ahmadis.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry, the reason I say this is because
You see, I tell you,
Yeah.
Islam, that is particularly the Holy Quran, speaks of inter-religious marriages and permits Muslims, Muslim men, only to marry within the area of Ahl Kitab, within the, the four walls of such religions as are considered to be the revealed religions, not man-made. And do not marry among idolaters. Even if a man, Muslim, intends to marry an idolatrous woman, the Holy Quran does not permit that. As far as the ladies are concerned, the Holy Quran speaks of Muslim girls and says they should not marry like Muslim men are permitted to marry among the Ahl Kitab. They should marry only among themselves. Now this is the principle from which we have taken our cue. Why should Holy Quran discriminate between man's rights of marriage and woman's rights of marriage in relation to religion? The obvious answer is that women, I'm not talking of the Western, so-called leaders of emancipation and so on. I'm talking of the world as a whole. Women, in fact, are weaker in comparison to men because they're physically stronger and they are the bread earners. So in religion, most often, men enforce their religion upon their children. So if a true believer, a woman in Islam who is a true believer, gives birth to children only to be handed over to such people as she believes are wrong, it's if she is sensible and meaningful and also sensitive to these issues, it will create a hell for her. So it is to save these contradictions and the contradictions of upbringing later on that Islam does not permit its women to marry outside. So a sort of division is created within Islam, and in the application to such divisions we apply the same formula. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the second part is, in this case, if I myself was to marry a white Christian, what would your views be on this?
Right. You can.
Yeah.
There is no inhibition.
Okay.
But remember this, that the principle involved in not prohibiting Muslim girls should not be altogether ignored.
Yeah.
You must understand the philosophy. If the main purpose, as I have suggested, is to save your progeny from contradictions and being brought up in a sort of tug-of-war atmosphere between man and woman, then it is better to marry among the people of your own faith and your own beliefs. And if, as I have found sometimes, a Christian girl is only a girl Christian in name, and she has no inhibitions whatsoever regarding the husband giving his religion to children, then it's not problematic. But if she belongs to, for instance, Jehovah's Witnesses, then you have had it. Right? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My name is Abbe Pokech.
Abdul?
Abbe. My mother calls me Abbe, and my father's name is Okech. And so I become Abbe Pokech.
Pokech, right.
If you would allow
And
me,
you're also from Nigeria?
I come from Uganda.
Uganda?
Yes.
Which part of Uganda?
I come from the
Northern region or southern region?
From the northern Uganda. From northern Uganda.
I understand.
Which does not agree very much with the foreign religions.
I understand, yes.
We
You see, there are more local tribal religions in the north than in the south.
It's not tribal. It's called religion of the oppressed.
I understand. Okay, whatever name you gave, but I have followed.
I would like, with your permission,
Yes, please.
to find the number of women among your audience. Please put up your hand. Women. Women among the members of the audience.
Just a minute. Address me, please. If somebody goes to the women's section, where women are sitting,
Yeah, thank you.
the same objection will be raised there. We don't see any men sitting here.
Thank you. Now,
So it's not a question of equality. It's a question of equal rights.
I now come to the question.
And the philosophy is not based on discrimination.
Wonderful. Now I come
You see, in churches where men and women go both together, women dare not go to the church without full makeup and being most attractively dressed,
Correct.
resulting in people paying more homage to the beauty around them than the beauty of God they have come to worship. So Islam is a very meaningful religion.
I'm coming to that now.
Right.
The story is, I'm asking you, you might have come across a story that came from India about the 6 blind men with the elephant. You might have read that.
Right.
Once you have read that, I am now asking you, which part of that elephant has Islam touched?
Which part of that elephant?
Yeah. Because the 6 blind men,
Now, the question implies that as far as human areas of human interest are concerned, you have satisfied yourself that Islam has touched on all the important topics. The only problem left between you and its acceptance of Islam is that Islam doesn't seem to have touched any part of that elephant. Is that right?
that's what I'm asking, because there are so many religions. and
What I
Islam
mean to
is
say is,
one of them.
instead of going into such hypothetical questions, it is much wiser, and more productive to ask specific questions regarding Islam's teachings in application to any one area. Then I'll be able to answer you.
Yes, the point now, I come to the point.
Right,
The
do please.
The 6 blind men heard about an elephant.
That's right.
That it was a very big animal. So when they heard that the elephant had come to town, they all said, let us go and see that animal.
I know the story.
The people
The
of the world,
concept of animal was born differently by the 6 people because one of them touched the trunk,
Yes.
the other one leg, the other the snout,
the tail,
and things. I know the story. What I mean to say is, instead of going into generalities like that, let's turn to the specifics,
yeah, you see,
please.
people went and touched, Christianity went and touched the elephant. Islam touched the elephant. They all touched the different parts of that elephant. Now, they
No,
want,
this is where I would like to correct your question. It is not based on the right premise. Islam claims to have touched on all issues of human interest, not a part thereof. Islam is the one religion in the whole committee of religions in the world which makes the specific claim of being universal. And with that claim, it is impossible for Islam to have ignored certain people of certain areas and discussed the interest of those people in a certain area. But Islam goes further. It says that God has sent prophets not only to all the parts of the world, but in all ages. So this is the only religion, remember this, which makes it obligatory upon Muslims to believe in all the prophets and not to make distinction between one against the other or discrimination between one and the other. And then Islam claims that you have to believe not only in general totality, but you must confess that you believe in every prophet of God, whether he belonged to your age or he happened to be earlier. So with this wide, all-comprising claim, what area you think could be left out? You see, such a claim is not found anywhere, and I'm going to remove a possible misunderstanding which you or anybody else may entertain in this regard.
Yes, I come to...
You may say that the Christian also claim the same thing. They claim that Christianity is universal religion. So what is the difference between a claim and another claim? I point out that that claim of Christianity is not augmented and supported by its other teachings, while in case of Islam it is fully supported and witnessed on the authority of its own teachings. For instance, a Christian, a true Christian who believes in the universality of Christianity does not have to believe in the truth of Krishna, does not have to believe in the truth of Buddha, does not have to believe in the truth of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, if he is a true Christian, he has to reject the truth of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how could it be a universal religion where God is monopolized for one people of a certain time, one tribe of a certain area, and then it claims we are universal, when the prophets of other religions are not even recognized, not even mentioned, when it is not included in the fundamental articles of the faith of that religion, that your belief in Jesus will be of no avail to you unless you specifically claim that I believe in Jesus and all other prophets of Allah. No such claim is made in any religion of the world. This is the beauty of Islam. Right? So it has to be universal, and the only universal religion.
But sir, if religion gives an order and meaning to life, before Christianity went to Africa, before Islam went to Africa, these people had order in their society.
I know, I know. So, because of the shortage of time, I'm cutting you short, not because I don't want to understand your question. I'm cutting you short with due respects because I understood your question before you asked. Because when you referred to the northern area and the tendency, I knew you would come to the question of what about the basic fundamental African religions? Why they should not be treated at par?
The last thing...
Is that right?
I don't want to waste your time. The last thing is, where will Islam put the human greed?
But first let me answer the unfinished question. The question he was raising, he's a very profound man, Right from the beginning he laid the foundation for all the future discussion which was to come. The concept is very valid. I don't reject that. that before Islam went there, before Christianity went there, other foreign religions appeared on the salients of Africa. What about Africans themselves? Were they abandoned by God? Did they not receive any light? You have forgotten that I have already answered this question when I introduced Islam as having the fundamental belief not only that all the parts of the world were recipients of prophets of Allah, but in all times in the past, everywhere in the world, God sent His light. So the African religions are given full authenticity by the claim of the Quran. Why then introduce a new religion? If that is not your question, that should have been.
But then why take that other religion?
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Because the religions originally were the same, but people who changed them were not the same people. When religions were revealed by Allah to a certain section of society at a certain time, they remained pure only for a while, maybe for a few hundred years. But the change of that the hand of time brings about in everything did not spare religions. So it were the man-made changes which created such differences in the fundamental understanding of God that the 2 or 3 or 4 or hundreds of religions, in fact, seem to be claiming different things. God, according to one, is white, and according to the other is black, and according to the other is yellow or pink or this and that. But it's not only about God, about angels, about the life here on earth, about the human rights, about the life after death. All these fundamental religions and secondary so-called religions differ on these points. So how can you determine which one is the truth? The Holy Quran guides you to the answer of this question in so many different ways. And each way the Holy Quran guides you has to be universally acceptable, because it addresses the whole universe. One way is, it says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا.
I'm 75 years of age.
Yes.
I have got 48 grandchildren. I have got 18 children with one wife.
MashaAllah.
I want them to grow in the right way.
Exactly.
And the right way is not universal. Because
I'm coming to this.
We all came from our mother's womb naked.
Just a moment, please.
But God came, we went to the university, went to the colleges, we learned knowledge for argument.
Would you please permit me to answer your question?
Exactly.
First of all, remember, this is not a debate we are holding. If I remain engaged and locked up with only one questioner, then I'll be very unfair to all the guests here.
Right.
Right?
You're
But
right.
let me say one thing in answer to your question. I understood your logic right from the beginning when I inquired from you which part of Uganda you belong to.
That would be
I know
fascinating.
the attitudes and thinkings of the northern people. In fact, during the changeover from chaos to the so-called present government, we did, Ahmadis, help Ugandans come to some conclusion. After Idi Amin, I mean. And we were in touch with the northern people as well as the southern people. And all the dialogue was sent to me for further guidance, and we guided all of them to the best understanding by us as to how these issues should be resolved. So I'm not talking just from my mouth, my lips. I know the problem. The problem, the crux of the matter in the end is that if Ugandan people have a solution for themselves, that solution may not be called a universally acceptable solution. So why the vice versa? Why a solution which is valid for Arabia or for Pakistan should be imposed on the country Uganda? The answer to that question is that it is a valid question. The Holy Quran does not offer any such solution which is time related or area related to be the universal solution. But it speaks of universal principles which, when applied to a particular situation, would resolve the issues of that particular area, not that solutions would be brought from outside, but they would be understood with the help of the Quranic principles in application to the local problems. So far, I think that should suffice. Otherwise, there will be no end to this dialogue. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, although there is time for prayer, for Zuhr, I would still like to invite one or two more questions, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you.
My name is Edward Meelan. I'm from Crawley. I am a Christian. I'm of the Catholic denomination.
Catholic denomination. Right.
And if I can be permitted, could I raise certain points that came up earlier, if I can be permitted?
Would you please be a bit louder?
I'm sorry.
Because sometimes when people see this video program, this international, they point out that the questioner's voice was so low that we could not understand. Please.
Earlier on, one of the previous speakers, when they raised about Jesus saying, I am the light and the way,
right,
and nobody approaches the Father except through me, and you responded, I think, with saying that us as Christians therefore try and have a monopoly because of that. Well, I like to say that I'm from a traditional denomination, the Catholic Church, the mainstream denominations, which also include the mainstream Protestant churches, whether in Britain or worldwide. And can I say that we are not saying now that because one isn't a Christian, one is condemned to the fires of hell. That is where Jesus said that comes from John. I'm not sure exactly which part of John, but
just mention it. I'll remember that.
Yes. And at the time Jesus said it, the Jewish faith and the hierarchy of the Jewish faith were abusing their power.
Right.
And that is why he said it. In fact, the Catholic Church in the 60s openly said that other faiths could not be discounted because history shows that the Lord works through people of other faiths. And because...
Excuse me, who said that?
The Catholic Church did. They openly...
Where is the
in
reference?
In the 60s. I'm not quite sure where the actual... But if you want to raise issue with a Catholic priest...
I would like to point out that I do not reject the possibility of individual views within Christianity which are liberal and rational and understandable. No one can rule that out. But to say that this is the official position of the Church is not right, because they monopolize redemption with the belief in Jesus Christ, and they emphasize the dogma that every human being is born as a result of sin, and he inherits sin as such. And a sinful person, unless his sins are cleansed and washed out by an innocent person, which is Christ according to them, and no one else is innocent. He cannot be redeemed. Now, unless you compromise that principle for the sake of your liberalism, you cannot claim that. Try to understand what I'm saying. This is the fundamental dogma of all Christianity, that man inherited sin from Adam and Eve. And it's a fundamental dogma of all Christianity that the sins can be washed only by the blood of an innocent sacrificer. And because it is the dogma, united dogma of all Christianity, that no one was that innocent person other than Jesus Christ. None was born anywhere else in the world who could claim that innocence, which entitled him to be sacrificed for the sake of others. How then can you claim that they believe that others could be right? They do not.
May I respond?
Oh, please. Already the time is over.
Yeah.
I would draw your attention to a small booklet which I have just authored and is published, which is Christianity, a Journey from Facts to Fiction. Facts of Jesus Christ, fiction of St. Paul, as we believe. No offense. So please read that, and if any questions remain to be resolved, then I'll always be at your service. Thank you.
To just finish
You see,
with-
already 1 hour has passed the appointed time. People are waiting in the mosque for the prayer.
Okay.
So
I
it cannot be extended into a debate, please.
No, I'm not going to extend it into a debate, but I don't totally agree with your view, but if any other person here would like to chat with me afterwards,
Of course,
I
Imam Sahib, anybody could.
Yeah.
But not necessarily now. Why do you fix the time now?
No. But what
Any
I
time
want to
later on.
say is,
You better-
this thing of Jesus, it's a view
You see, I tell you one thing.
by
The
evangelical
Christians,
Christians.
non-Western Christians nowadays are far more enthusiastic in favor of Christianity than the Western Christians. They have become more rational. And unfortunately, the same cannot be said by the Indian Christians or Korean Christians or Japanese Christians. So that is why I suggested you to read that book, which I have written only with that purpose, that human rationality as such should become the judge of dispute between our view of the truth of Jesus and your view of the truth of Jesus. The truth is not debatable. Remember this. We believe in the truth of Jesus. I claim more than the current Christians believe in the truth of their Jesus, because that truth, as they say it, is not defensible. But the truth of Jesus which I see and we see is absolutely intact and defensible. So that is why we believe, why I say we believe more. So the issue of the truth is not debatable at all. The issue which is controversial is whether our view of his truth is better or more acceptable to human conscience, or other views regarding his truth are more acceptable. This issue cannot be taken up here. You better first study that book and then come into contact with the Imam Sahib, London Mosque, and he will give you time generously, I hope, inshallah. Okay? Thank you. Now with that we have to call it off. The meeting was to end at 1 o'clock. But as we started late by half an hour, instead of my appearing here at 11 o'clock, I appeared at 11:30. So half an hour's margin was very logical and sensible. We've already gone into the second half hour now. And the people are waiting in the mosque for my arrival so that I could lead them. So with that word of apology, I take leave of you. Allah bless you. And how's your father? I'm asking, this girl, Bosnia.
Thank you very much. He's all right.
He's all right, he's fine, and your sister and everybody else is. Why have you totally disappeared? Except for today.
Oh, I'm not disappeared.
No? This is your niece, isn't she?
Pardon?
This is your niece sitting by your side.
This is my daughter.
Aha, it's your daughter. Show me the face of. Oh yes. Sorry, I misunderstood you for somebody else.
Probably.
Yes, I did. I apologize.
Oh, question.
Right. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Allah bless you.